Hello teacups, what's brewing? Welcome back to the channel. It's been a while. My apologies. I'm so sorry. Never intended to be away this long, but turns out moving my whole life to another country takes a bit of getting used to. I got my new background in a few days ago. I still don't have my setup. I have a bit of a wonky tripod. I don't have proper lighting yet, but we're working on it. I still need to get a proper chair for this desk because I've stolen one of my dining room chairs, and I need to just get like a rug for the echo, lots of different things. But we're going to give it a go because I was at the point where I was like, either I do a react or I just get out of reacting. And actually she's been harder than I expected to get back into because she's so long and so rambling. It's really hard to keep track of what she's doing anyway. And there was no real point to hold on to and be like, let's talk about this. So when you've got 3 or 4 hours of nothing, and I really didn't have the time, I've been working flat out. It's a new school, it's a new curriculum, it's a new position, just a lot's been going on. Now, as it happened today, so yesterday there were huge amounts of power cuts throughout Oman. Something like 4 of the governorates managed to keep power on, and the rest had power cuts. So today I got a message at about 6 o'clock saying, teachers, the ministry has said that the school is closed, all schools are closed, they're getting a day off because they don't know how reliable the power's going to be. And it was actually impacting, it wasn't just in school, there were no traffic lights, for example, like it was actually dangerous for people to be out. So they've just closed the schools today. And our administration said, please do not go into the building because we don't want any of the electronics on. We all switched our plugs off and things before we left. Just in case there's any surges, any messing with the power, we don't want to mess up the systems, just stay home. And we were like, yeah, okay, if you insist. But it meant I got a cheeky like midweek day off, and me and the other teachers went for brunch earlier. It was lovely. We're like, okay, this we can get behind. But currently the power is on. It went off a few times yesterday, once about midnight, which was rough because it gets so hot here. But it's been on all day, so I'm just enjoying the day off at this point. But let's get back to Chantal. It meant I had a chance to watch a little bit of her. I did watch her Let's Beeze stream last night, my time, saying how she had a boyfriend. And then I've watched about 2 of the 3 hours of her next stream saying I'm single. So clearly nothing much has changed in the foodieverse since I've been away. Still as consistent as ever. We'll get into it, but it's been hard to get back to her, like I said, and at least we've got something to talk about here. I have noticed, though, her views seem to be massively down. Like, there was a definite shift while I was away of people just not caring as much, and she constantly says, you'll be replaced when she gets angry. But there seems to have been a turn, and I'm assuming she's aware of it, but how long she can go without doing something to address it, I'm not sure. Her channel very much seems to be dying. So let's talk about Let's Beeze. She starts wearing this really quite hideous boss necklace because she's officially announced being with her boyfriend now, so it's worth something. She's amazing. Boss. You can't be a boss without a boyfriend, clearly. She's up early because there is a reason for the Beezin, which just made me think she needed to come out with a holiday line, 'tis the season for a Beezin. You can have that for free, my dear. It's not the best, but it's better than any merch you currently got. She does acknowledge how ugly the necklace is, which fair play to her, but she did say, okay, this actually made me more sad than laugh, but if I ever do anything to be proud of, she'll buy it in gold. And yeah, we weren't talking high bar. She was like, if I ever just tick off something from my list or meet any goal, she'll buy herself the boss necklace in gold. She doesn't put the boss necklace back on, she takes it off. And I'm just like, that makes me sad for you. Because we're not talking like when I do this thing, when I arrive here, when I achieve this particular massive thing. Like, I don't know, if I go back to school and I get my degree, whatever it is. It was just like, if I meet any goal in my life, and I'm all for rewarding yourself for small progress, but as an attempt, it just seems so unreachable for her. It made me a little sad. She tells us about her life plan. Apparently we can't handle the full view into her brain, which the statement connects to something she says later. but she wanders kind of past the point she was making, and that's a guess. She doesn't connect it. She used to tell us that even in school, her essays were like, you didn't finish your point here, and it felt like one of those moments. But basically, her 3 goals right now are loving man in her life, which at this point she thinks she's got. She wants to travel, and she wants a couples channel. So it all connects together. And she wants to be all mushy in a guy with online videos. She wants to kind of prove how in love she is, which we saw a lot with Nada in the beginning. And she asks, why can't she have that in her life? Why can't that be her life dream? And there's really no reason. It can be her life dream. I believe the objection before stemmed largely from her choice of partner more than the plan itself. But it does circle back to this kind of need she has to prove how happy she is and how loved she is. It's about the proof and about how much worth she feels it gives her. And so I'd say focus on living the life you want instead of like doing it for the views. But she is entirely reliant on a channel that seems to be dying. So I guess I understand why she wants to make a shift, because at this point, pretty much any shift into some kind of planned content would be a positive one. It's a place I wouldn't want to be in life, where I'm entirely calculating my own worth based on the views of this imaginary channel type she's going to do when she doesn't have a partner at the moment. Well, she thought she had a partner, but there we go. So she does start gushing about him a little bit. She reiterates that she's not paying for things. He doesn't understand why people are messaging him about money. Because of course, people have doxed him already. People are in contact with him already. Says he is respectful and has traditional values. So this will be interesting. We've seen time and time again that Chantal, on the most basic of levels, is not capable of change. Even, or perhaps especially, for her own good. So, you know, she gets very bored by anything that ends up being too much tradition. That's not a great way to put that. The idea of a traditional role as she sees it, which is very stereotypically 40 years ago, is, oh God, I'm aging myself, longer than 40 years. I was thinking like 60s, 50s, but that's longer. I'm old. Never mind, we'll move on from this point. The point is, she's got a very stereotypical idea of what women do in a relationship, and she's not sure she can be that person. But she gets bored when things aren't incredibly toxic and up in the air, because it doesn't prove love if you're not extreme, you know? And this expectation she has that he will help her change seems like a really dangerous one, in that we always said, like, you can't change Nada. You can't go into a relationship expecting to change a man. And it's just as dangerous the other way, saying, well, we'll get together because he'll help me be better. She's incredibly resistant to being better. Do you remember when, at the beginning, when her and Nada were going to make each other healthier? Oh, early days. They were going to make each other healthier. They were going to go to the gym together. And she had a complete 3-day depressive meltdown because he wanted her to go for a 10-minute walk. You remember that? Because I remember that. So I feel like getting with a man expecting him to change her is going to be as successful as that was, which is to say not at all. She mentions, I haven't been following this very much, but there's current drama with Garlic Bread, Beeze, and Jessica Messica. Apparently everyone's been dating everyone, is as much as I can get from that, and everyone's mad about it. So there we go. But really, she's just sort of getting ready to roll it back to her, and how she doesn't trust people online, but she would miss the community. And what I think she means to say there is attention, because her community is generally trash, and how she treats her community is generally trash. So she gets what she needs from it sometimes, and she'd miss that if she left, as well as the money, one presumes. She turns the conversation around to Dee, because of course she does. Nothing has changed in the month I've been away. We're still doing that. And she does it to point out that once you make yourself public, you're open to be talked about, which is the far-reaching point I think she's trying to connect back to the 3 reactors. Well, would we call Jessica Messica a reactor? I don't know. But that's the point she's making and connecting. She also is really quick to point out that Dee didn't steal Nada, he was given back. So it seems like it's still a little bit of a sore spot there. I thought she'd let that go now that she's moved on, but no. She has a random piece of bread next to her, asks what she should make with her baguette. She said focaccia, maybe I've got the wrong type of bread. She says she hasn't eaten, despite showing us eating 4 pizza pops for breakfast. They were like pizza pasties, man. She says she acts like she doesn't eat junk and then eats junk all day, which we've been knew, but it's rare she admits to it. She was very happy to hear that BBQ Chicken had dropped a video. Like, remember BBQ Chicken went on to reacting to other people? There's been a little bit of a shift in a few people where they're just checking out new people to watch because Chantal's been boring and there's only so much you can say about it, which is one of the reasons I didn't get back quicker. I'm guessing her views are down pretty badly. And she goes back to talking about the new guy and the food and how she's going to make a sandwich, and then they can watch the reaction on the big screen. Because remember, BBQ Chicken, for the most part, is one of the reactors she doesn't mind too much. But I think when BBQ stopped reacting to her temporarily or looked like she was moving on, I think Chantal actually did feel that a little bit. She says, before I met this guy, before I met Menton, so she's totally fine with his name being out there and confirming who he is. I'm assuming he didn't give her permission for that. There we go. And remember, this is when they were together, so learned no lessons from the past. She said she was talking to another guy and she wanted to make it work with him. You guys don't know what goes on. La la la. She's going to go to she's going to walk and she's going to eat healthier. And then she's like, how many calories do you think is in this whole focaccia? Which she ends up slicing up and grilling with cheese and tomato, so basically making pizza out of. But if it's a grilled toast, it's healthier than pizza, you guys. She says she will probably travel to see, is his name Menton? I heard Minton, but I've seen it spelled differently since. She's going to travel to see him first. She talked to BB today. God damn, leave BB alone. Leave BB alone. And she sets a smoke alarm off burning her pizza. She says, I have to be somewhat of a good housewife because, you know, she's going for a traditional relationship and apparently she can't be anything else. And every part of me just went, ugh, because that's just how I feel about that. Mentions Vlogtober briefly. She says she's not going into the haunted houses. She goes on to ask, what if he's really good for me? She seems to be defending herself in the chat. I wasn't paying too much attention to the chat at this point. I dipped in and out with it. But I guess they must have been asking if this was a good idea because obviously we have Nada from before, which didn't turn out well. And so she's sort of defending her choices, but I'm not sure if anyone was attacking her choices because, you know, in terms of bars, Nada was lower than this, I suppose. There is a question because he's been located. There's a lot of different stories now, but he's been located, he's been contacted, so he exists as a person, whether he matches his picture or not. She says she's been video chatting him, so she's obviously met somebody. But the woman is a walking episode of Catfish waiting to happen. Yeah, Chantal will believe anyone for anything if it makes her value herself a little bit more. She just needs someone else to tell her she's worth something and she'll do anything, like anything for that. So big expectation that he was just catfishing her to begin with and then maybe decided it wasn't worth the trouble he got for it. But, you know, maybe I'm being harsh. She is clearly thinking of the future. She asks, what if he's really good for me? And I'm just sitting there like, what if you make changes for yourself that would be good for you and then you try and find somebody? Like, I'm not against partners supporting partners. That's part of a relationship. But it goes back to this idea of he could change me, you guys, you know? And she does say, maybe we'll get married. So not moving too fast then. And talks more about getting a big house. And I'm like, how is she financing that? I know she makes money on YouTube, but that's a diminishing return these days with those views. It has to be. And then she has bad credit. She has no savings and she has current debt. Even though she did have her bankruptcy, she mentioned a little while ago that she has a loan that she doesn't know how much she owes on, but she pays every month and it comes out and she doesn't think about it or check it. So she's got current debt. The taxes won't show up on a credit report, I don't think, but I don't know how Canada works in that way. But she's got nothing to recommend her financially. So how she thinks she's financing a big house or even the 2 apartments she discusses later, I don't know. She says she's having trouble getting motivated to get into the swing of things in terms of content, and same fam, I understand that. Someone asked, why does Pete not believe you're moving? And I'm guessing it's because Pete knows her. Pete knows the idea she gets and knows they amount to nothing. Apparently, Menton, whatever his name is, getting the full hater treatment. Someone asked if he's seen her without her wig, and she says, well, if he's looked her up, he's seen her videos. So do with that what you will. Doesn't seem very trusting for the guy. She's like, oh no, we're together. But at the same time, It's a vulnerable moment, and I know she puts it online, but there's a very different thing between having something online and saying it to a person who's right there. A person who's right there has the potential to do a lot more damage than just the general internet audience. So I guess I understand her waiting a little bit. She says she wants someone who wants to improve her life. And again, she doesn't seem convinced she can change. The way she's talking about it, she's like, what if she likes her bad habits? As I said, her time with Nada showed that even the smallest step to do something that she's not entirely ready to do, that might cause the slightest discomfort, ends up being a full blowout. So what she expects this guy to be able to do for her, I do not know. But that's as much as I had for notes for that. And then we go into the next day where she's got one saying, I'm single, with a heartbroken emoji. So a long-term relationship, this time with this man she never actually met. She starts by basically saying every time she meets a guy that everyone flocks to him. So she starts with a vague idea of it's the hater's fault. And I'm sure he's been inundated, I'm sure. But there's a lot of mess that seems to be there. She then goes on to be like, I don't think I can be a good girlfriend or housewife, which no one has asked her to be, but there we go. She needs complete freedom, she guesses. She doesn't seem convinced by any of this, and I'm not convinced by it either. So, it's nothing to do with the rumor that he was sharing dick pics with people. Nothing to do with the voice notes that have come out. Like, the guy seems messy. Even if he's not actively catfishing her, the dude seems messy, and a lot of stories come up from this. I haven't gone to research the video notes, so I haven't heard them firsthand. I've just seen the questions that are being asked about them. She says planning future life, just planning, stresses her out, so she can't do it. Bear in mind, she was saying last live, oh, maybe we'll get married. And she moves fast, put it that way. And she believed it completely when she said it, She turned on her notifications and was shocked to get one of Nada going live. So, definitely not checking on his reaction to her officially having a boyfriend. Because that's what I was reading in this situation. That's how it sounded to me. But, no, shocking. Oh, I had a notification from Nada. Oh, my God. Well, you must have turned notifications on for Nada then, mustn't you? She says she's okay with being friends. She does not seem okay at all about it. She doesn't want to go back on Tinder. And when she said this, I'd forgotten in the last live. She was like, I've deactivated all my Tinder. This is the guy. It's like, oh, how the mighty fall. He was the one. She says, he says he doesn't like drugs at all. And she does. She likes, and of course, quickly, oh, legal drugs. I like drugs a lot. Oh, legal drugs. She was talking to him on the phone. Beautiful man. Not sure. I don't feel right for him. He'd be better off with someone else. She's a mess and doesn't want the pressure of having to change, and she doesn't want to have to worry constantly about a man's pleasure. By pleasure, she doesn't mean the obvious necessarily, although it might include that. It's just when you take in essentially an immigrant into a relationship, you have to be concerned he's happy, which seems like a big pressure for her, apparently. Bear in mind, he hasn't asked her to do any of this. This is entirely a conversation that she has had in her head, which has led her to believe, well, it would never work if, in fact, any of this was true to begin with, So this seems like a conversation for therapy, which, hey, we got this far without saying it. Yay! Not an indicator that she's any better, but just that this is how long it took to get here. There seems to be a huge amount of doubt in herself, and she really doesn't want to change at all, but she recognizes that everything she does is terrible for her, and a partner might have a problem with the way she slowly kills herself. But she doesn't want to change. This is something she needs to speak to a therapist about. She needs to look into those impulses. And I know we've said that before, but this is, if, again, her story is to be believed, which I know is a very doubtful thing. But based on her perspective of this, before she's had this conversation with him, she's like, oh, well, it wouldn't work for this reason, this reason, this reason, and this reason. Next time she plays like the fat, confident woman, which is completely something you can be, but next time she plays this and she's like, don't you shame me, I'm beautiful, I'm wonderful, I'm great, it doesn't matter, men love me. Remember this conversation, because this is a lot closer to the real heart of things, where she's not sure and she doesn't have that confidence. And that's not a terrible thing. I wish she didn't have to go through it, but that's not a terrible thing. But fundamentally, she recognizes how problematic her behavior is and how it can be seen by others. and she'd rather be alone than change. She doesn't want to be alone. She desperately wants someone, but she'd rather deal with that than deal with changing. Someone jokingly mentions not to introduce people, and it's a suggestion she should really take. Some people in the chat were like, we were so close to getting a new character. But really, the only way, and there's no way she could do this, but the only way she could ever really successfully have a relationship, or maybe not even start a relationship, would be to keep it completely offline. But remember, her life goal at the moment is to prove how in love she is with somebody, and the only way you can prove that is if you're on a couples channel on the internet. So if that's her life goal, she cannot keep it offline. If she wants to make this change into some of the YouTubers that she admires, she cannot keep it offline. And given that she's struggling for content and needs a change of topic, as much as, from men to a relationship would be a small change, but an important one, then there's no way she can do that. But it being online completely ruins any chance she have of even starting something. Ultimately, the presentation of a relationship is more important than the actual relationship she's having and the quality of it. So she claims she broke up with him. They had some kind of conversation where she explained this, I'm presuming, and in her head anyway. I did laugh when she said this. She was like, the guy wrote back, thanks B, the shade. Maybe I misunderstood what she had said, but could you imagine, even with the fake version of this breakup, when she's like, oh, I don't think this is going to work, and he's like, thank God. I can't believe she said it, but maybe I misunderstood, but that's how I heard that. She wants someone more accessible, because again, this was definitely a breakup that she engineered. Definitely wasn't anything else. She says, will you guys get mad if I tell you, and then kind of trails off and doesn't go back to the sentence, so I don't know what she was planning on telling. She feels like she's looking for something she never gets, which I imagine would be the case, considering she said multiple times she has no idea what she wants. And when she gets what she thinks she wants, it's not what she wants. Because it doesn't actually matter which version of the person Foodie claims she's looking for you are. All her problems are internal. And so no one is going to work because nobody has the skills to fix that. Whatever it is that's causing the gaping hole that feeds all the problems that she experiences, that's what she's got to focus on, not the outside characters. And until she does, there's no way a relationship is going to be successful. She continues to chat with her viewers while dipping chocolate bars. In my notes, I've actually accidentally typed chocolate bats, would be an entirely different video. But dipping chocolate bars into marshmallow fluff? Is marshmallow fluff a new thing for her? I haven't seen her do it very often, but man, that's a choice. Chat tells her the new guy was sending nudes in Messenger. And she says she's used to guys being fucking cheaters anyway. Says the woman who cheated on her last 2 long-term relationships. Yeah, I wouldn't go throwing stones on the cheating. But yeah, the guy seems a mess. From what I've seen, he apparently, I heard a rumor on Twitter. Like I said, I haven't seen the original source. I could be wrong. But apparently, he said some things through voice note. He sent some nudes, some dip hits, whatever. She eats some pickles. She goes to microwave some nacho cheese thing and tells us she's eating her feelings today. Which seems odd considering if it had ended the way she claims that it was her choice, there's no reason to eat those feelings, but who am I? Her brain, her story, whatever. She had an odd minute where she spent 30 seconds sniffing a tub of sour cream, saying how bad it smelled and is it in date, and then dumps it on her food anyway and just complains because it's low fat, and it's the low fat that makes it gross. People say he claims that she catfished him, which projection, sir, but her response of, my pictures are literally my pictures. I'm sorry. We have seen the picture version of her. When we talk about filters on the videos, the pictures are another level. So she does not look like herself in the pictures. However, on the catfish claims, it could go either way. You know, you both did some things. Sofa King tells her to listen to the voice notes because Sofa does not want the best for her. Sofa is here for the drama and she trusts him, and it's kind of terrible. She asks him for a summary instead. According to the chat, the new guy apparently says that someone took his pictures and they weren't dating, but he also says that he dumped her because her heart isn't good. And as I said before, the new guy seems messy. I'm glad we don't have to deal with him. She disappears for a long time. She comes back and talks briefly about her options. And again, I don't understand how either of these are options, being 2 apartments or a house. And I don't think either of those are realistic possibilities at all. And that was pretty much the point where I gave up with her. So if she did anything hugely dramatic in the last hour, I apologize. But with these longer streams, when it gets to 3-4 hours, because she tends to go around in circles so much, it doesn't tend to be new stuff. But I'll watch the last hour while I'm cooking dinner and we'll see if I missed anything big. I apologize if I did. So that's it. Thank you so much for being here. It's weird being on camera again. I'll try and fix my setup a bit more. I've got a desk. I've got like a weird tripod. We're still figuring it out, but hopefully I will have the time to see you soon. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time. Bye-bye.